over a long period of time. So that's just like, it's just a time and a slight annoyance to you, I guess. Like, it's probably a little annoying to take, like take 30 seconds every decision. You're like thinking about, oh, everybody at the table is going to get annoyed with me, but that doesn't matter. Like, you're being a professional, you're trying to earn more buy-ins, and all you're using is your time.
I sometimes tell people live when I do it, and people like really don't like when I tell people. So I'm just gonna, so now live, now I just do it. Like, I sometimes like feel bad almost and like just tell like I'm gonna stall, like we're on the money bubble. Like I'm short, especially if I'm short stacking them. I'm just like short stack. It's clearly like a short stack should stall. And like no one has ever, like I've already done it like 3 or 4 times at a table, like, and the reaction's like never good, like it's not, like people don't give a shit.
But that's the thing about poker is like you're not there to make friends. Right. Like if you are, then it's kind of like that's not like a good mindset. Yeah. I understand the psychology of like being friendly with the table, but in instances like that, obviously stalling is a much more important thing than being friends with the guy to your left so that he's not like overly aggressive against you. Like it's just part of being a professional and like not worrying about other people's emotions, only worrying about yourself. It's like sort of like it's a selfish game. Like you're trying to earn money for yourself, not please other people.
Yeah,
that's exactly true. Like we're friends with poker here. That's our closest friend at this point. We're tanking because it has a legitimate strategic angle that makes sense in tournaments. Like the clock is what defines a tournament versus a cash game. And so you have to keep that into account. It's literally like 1/3 of the entire playing field in poker tournaments. So don't be afraid to be that guy. Just, I've had the clock called on me where every hand I got, I was snap clocked by the TD at WSOP once. Wow, when I had like 3.5 bigs, and it was a $3,000 swing to cash because I had just lost a huge pot, and so I was stuck with crumbs. But I pulled this, and it was embarrassing. However, I have the notch on my belt from the cash. I apologized to everybody. They all understood when it was all said and done. But we're here for the game first. Don't worry about what anyone's thinking when you're using a strategy that's actually true GTO like that.
Yeah, and like on the for example, like back when I was playing heads ups, like when somebody would sit out, I would stall and like try to like give them a chance to get back, only to realize that every time I disconnected, everybody was just like murdering my stack as quickly as possible. Like like you feel bad in that moment being that guy, but you also don't know how other people would also act in that moment. Like, yeah, they're annoyed with you, but maybe if they were in the same situation, they'd be doing the same exact fucking thing, So, I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah, guys, hey, Max, talk for like half a second, 30 seconds more, I'll be right back, right? Just talk for like 30 seconds more, I'll be right back.
I got you. I mean, I don't know what to talk about, but like,
would you
okay, one thing I would say
that I've got my hot dogs ready to eat right now.
Yeah, and okay, so one thing I would say here regarding our current discussion is that if you satellited in or like Mike does, spun in to an event that's above your traditional firing range, like say you're playing at 215 when your normal buy-in is around 16, that is a spot where, a 2x is actually effectively, a 13x because of what you normally are playing at. And so keep that into account as far as ICM when you guys are in events above your head. Like ICM in the main is going to mean a ton more for me than an ICM in the long car.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like that $3,000 jump was probably very significant for your bankroll. And like, even though that's not like a calculation that you want to be making because you don't want to be playing outside your bankroll, there are times that you satellite into tournaments that are bigger than your bankroll. And that's kind of the purpose of it, is to build a more significant bankroll to play higher stakes. And you're going to end up in those spots a decent amount of the time. So, you kind of got to take that into consideration as much as you kind of don't want to, because you don't want to be playing hands scared. You do want to take advantage of all the things that are in your control that you can control, like time banking or making tight folds. Well, whatever you can control, that's a profitable move. that, maybe annoying to other people, but it doesn't matter,
Yeah, let me make two comments. I'll make a comment on what Max said about the sitting out thing, like 100%. Like I used to do the same thing in like tournaments sometimes. I'd be playing someone heads up and they like sit out and I would like wait for them. And I'd be like, then no one would wait for me ever in any scenario when I sat out. Like maybe one time in a lifetime. Like maybe like once I kind of remember like I was like, oh, you're the nicest guy ever, I think it was someone I knew. I think it was like a friend of mine from like some Euro friend of mine or something that like, but like usually, yeah, unless it's like a friend of yours, they're never gonna do it. So yeah, you gotta do what's best for you. Even this is one of the weird parts about live. Sometimes, like I even have, is like you're like there and you're like you're like worried too much about what other people thinking. When you're online, I literally don't even have like a thought of that, and people like staring at you sometimes can almost like get to you and whatever. But I don't want to comment on that too much.
Yeah.
I don't want to comment on that too much, but I do want to comment on what DMC said. It's a give and take because, like I said, if like you can win the tournament by making certain moves or be top 3, top 5. It's well worth it to do that rather than ever just min cash. So, because you're going to get paid literally like, let's think about it. If you're min cashing a 1650, this tournament, like the Boski, let's go with. You're min cashing for, what, $15 or $20, let's call it. And then, if not, but if you get top 5, you're getting 20x plus that. So, like, I'm not saying you're going to always get top 5 or whatever it is, but like, there is this factor of like you can't miss the good moments because you're likely not going to win the tournament. So it has to be like you're not going to get like super deep. You're not going to get that big stack that it takes, and like it's just a give and take. I think it's important. I think we've talked about it enough, and it's like just a give and take. So everyone, well, if anyone has any more comments, but I do want to hear everyone's opinion what they're doing with the ace-9 off here. Button. It looks like he's the chip lead stack, and he opens. Yeah, he's the chip lead stack by like 2x right now. He opens the hijack, and we are on the button with the ace-9 off. What y'all doing here?
Hey, give us your thoughts in the training session chat.
Yeah, training session chat. All right, Slammer says all in. That's the move, says Rip. I don't know the result yet, MK, so I know you probably know the result, but we'll see what's going on. Kind of have a feeling it might be a fold. I'm not saying I'm folding. I'm kind of guessing what the result might be. I'm honestly not sure. It could go either way. But I have a feeling this might be a type of hand where the population could be folding a decent amount. I could just kind of see that. What's my vibe on the situation? Well, we'll see. Jam, we're 5-handed here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing to take into consideration is like when you're on the FT bubble like this and you're short-handed, you're sort of restricted to the amount of opportunities that you get. So it is sort of a time to lean towards taking more marginal spots. Obviously, you want to take into consideration that you're on the FT bubble and not get too crazy, but you are only going to be allotted so many opportunities in this situation with 10 bigs.
And MK said he was opening a lot too. Yeah, Max. I think that is a good point. I think one of the points that is very important is this guy, if he's playing good, and obviously he sounds like he's playing aggressive, he's almost got like a Brazilian sounding name or something, like Trifaldinho. The Inho thing is some kind of Latin American name probably. I mean, that doesn't really matter that much, but Brazilians are very capable overall. I don't focus on countries too much, but it is definitely a thing that Brazilians are capable. Like literally everyone knows this. But anyway, he's probably, if he's playing a good style right now on the big stack, he's probably opening like 70% of his range right now, 60% of his range, maybe even more, like at least 50%. So if you kind of go off that, he's definitely opening any ace-x off. He's definitely opening 9-5 suited, 9-6 suited, I bet, like hands like that. Like, so even though it feels kind of weird because I don't know how much fold equity you have, he could call you with some bullshit, but I think you have enough fold equity. Number one, I also think he just has enough. You just dominate his range enough where it's worth it to shove. You're on the button. You only have 2 guys behind to act. He could call you with a lot worse. Like, sure, let him call you 9-7 suited, right? Like, he might just be like, oh, I have good enough odds, I'm calling. Like, it's probably not a good call 9-7 suited, even though an EV spot, he probably has enough equity. I probably still wouldn't even call that an EV spot personally. But he probably does have enough equity. But yeah, overall, I think you're going to be getting it through enough, and I think he's opening very, very wide here, and he's probably going to be opening every hand. Like, you need to take the good spots when they come. If not, like I would fold ace-5 off here. probably even some ace 8 off is like pretty tough spot here, honestly. I don't fully know what the right play is with like an ace 8 off. I have a feeling, I actually don't know. Honestly don't even know what the right play. Ace 8 off might be a shove here too against like the big stack, even though it feels a little loose. And probably any ace suited. I don't know if I love ace 2 suited. I think they probably have enough fold equity to do it. I don't love it. If you have like 11 bigs, I feel a lot better about it with like ace 2 suited than if you have 9.7, because I think that's like bordering the point of where he can call you with like a very wide range. So it's an interesting spot. It's definitely an interesting spot. Let's see what happened. I'm gonna say like, oh wow, that actually added the. This is like we should have.
Yeah, we should have played the hand a little bit further. I think that changes a lot.
That changes so much. All right. Wow.
Another thing to consider is like a spot like this, you're sort of accruing fold equity by taking this spot and possibly building your stack. Like right now, you're getting to the point where you're going to get called off like almost every time.
My gut is telling me I actually fold now. I'm not gonna lie. Like, but I don't know. It's really close now. Like, this is like as close as it gets. It's honestly a super interesting spot. Let's see if we can look it up.
Yeah, I'd assume that you're sort of resigned to the fact that you're probably going to get called by one or the other at this point. It does make it a tougher call for the original opener with a 26 big blind stack behind that could possibly be trapping. I mean, it's something they got to take into consideration.
You have to consider he definitely could have like an ace 10. He could have like an ace jack. He could have. I mean, yeah, I don't think he's like trapping. Yeah, he's trapping enough of his range to definitely make it. I'm gonna switch my screen. Make it a little bit dangerous. So let's check this out. Let's switch to. So this is ICM Miser. Can you guys see it? This is ICM Miser.
Yeah, it's up.
Okay.
You're good.
Let's see what this percentage thing is. Let's roll with this. It's a sit and go, but shit's weird. Like, as you have to pick some event, you know. Like you can make your own events, but I just don't have much saved. Let me just pick a random one. Is ACR on here? It is. Okay. Wow, there it is. $11 20K. That literally sounds like what this event probably is. $11 20K. All right, let's get the stacks right. It's 5-handed. We got. So, if you guys don't know, this is ICMizer, the program. So you are in the button. You have ace 9 off. The right suit, sweet. All right. You got. So let's keep. Let's make an easy number.
I think that it's probably going to say that it's an easy fold.
You think that's what it's going to say? I could see that. I could see that for sure.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm not totally sure whether or not it's going to calculate the cutoff call as a more, like presenting a more profitable situation or less, or if it's neutral.
I think it's less. I think almost for sure it's going to be less because it's going to have another guy that can call you, and he does have he's not going to flat like a super weak hand in that spot. Like there are a lot of like Jack 10 suited and Broadway type hands he could have, but I also don't think he's necessarily going to flat you like super tight in this spot. I think it's going to be a pretty decent flatting range. Second, so this guy.
Yeah, and honestly, like I think that you're assuming that you're getting called by the cutoff if the original opener folds. Because I think that they're going to have way too good of odds to call off there.
Am I not even allowed to do this? Let me figure this out. Hold on. I think
maybe not multi-way.
Some players seem to be bet 2,000, raised to 2,000. Hero bet is bigger or equal to other players' bet. What's happening right now, guys? I'm confused. Let's see. Okay. Why is there I don't know why is it erroring? I'm confused, guys. Do you see something I'm doing wrong? What's happening? I have to just reset it? Fucking technical difficulties, man. They're getting me. Take into what is It was working for a second and then he just like stopped. Just fucking thoroughly confused, guys. There you go. Now it's giving me something. Okay.
Progress.
Raised to 2,000. This is allowed. Why is it showing up red? Oh, what? Dude, it's getting confused. It's not like calling the bet. What is happening right now, dude?
You don't have hero on the button.
Oh. Well, no, I had that before, though. What? I'm confused. All right. Raise to 2,000.
Do you have the?
Oh, maybe this will help.
You have them. You have it at 1,000. Yeah, put it at 2,000.
It's not letting me, but yeah.
Oh, because it's putting.
I think we're here. I think we're here.
All right.
Hopefully. Interesting. I mean, this kind of tells you a lot, right? And we're going with ICM ranges here because I know the Boski has a lot of people, 11 left, a little bit ICM. So we're going with the ICM ranges. We could look at EV here in a second too because I am curious. So it's saying ace 9 off is like barely losing. Ace 10 off is completely break even. But even the other ones are not like making a huge amount. Like if you're saying ace 10 off is a break even shove, which is kind of nuts to me. Ace 9 suited is losing 0.01. So this kind of tells you a lot about when you're playing in these ICM moments and you don't have fold equity, how tight you actually have to be. So it's very interesting. So it's saying ace 9 off's a fold here, which honestly was my first instinct after the call came in. Now let's look at if the call did not come in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is that you're literally getting called. I mean, obviously it's possible that you get two folds. I'm not going to say every time, but you're like 99% getting called off there.
So you can see now, now that we have one
Yeah.
guy, ace 9 off becomes slightly profitable. And it probably actually is the bottom of the range you should take. Ace 8 off, well, let's put the heroes, he has 51% raising range, right? Let's edit that. Let's make it like, I mean, this looks pretty accurate. Let's give him like a few more crazy hands. Like, he's definitely raising all this shit.
I think the hardest thing to calculate here is the cutoff's calling range.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
do agree with DMC. He's talking about like how essentially you're running out of potential profitable spots, and this, like, even this being close, you know, it might be the spot that you are sort of forced to take, considering like that you're 5-handed and you're running out of time.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it, but and it would probably take too long anyway. But there is a way to run this forward.
Yeah,
and it takes into account stack sizes depending on what happens in the hand.
Yeah, I got that. Let me put it a little higher.
It takes forever though.
Here, I got it right here. It's FGs. You see this FGs thing?
Yeah, that's it.
So let me put it a little bit higher. I had 2 future game simulations. Let's do 4, and hopefully it won't take a year. Let's see how long it takes. We'll look at EV in a second, but this is an interesting thing to evaluate because this kind of says just what the difference between ICM and EV is in these moments. Yeah, it's taking. Let's try one more time. Might just take too long for the 4-1. But yeah, I was doing 2 on that one. That's fine. We'll just do.
I would definitely like to see what it's like with the cutoff call just without ICM.
All right, we got 3. Without the cutoff call, right? Is that what you said?
No, with the cutoff call,
okay.
Like it happened in game.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let me just add a little bit more to his range again. 10-9 off. Make it a really aggressive opening range. Like this probably might not be opening this wide. Let's just go like as wide. Like it's not as wide as he can go, 60%, but it's pretty damn wide.
Yeah, I mean, if I was him on the final table bubble with that stack, I'd be opening almost.
So
I'd probably be opening 90%.
Right. So yeah, it's going by 60%, which is could be even a little bit low. Ace nine off is a shove then, right? So let's go now to kind of what we just looked at, the call. Let me make sure. Oh, I gotta adjust in a second. Okay. I don't. The call is, to me, the caller's range is not like wide. So okay, this has it just tighten up his under the gun range like a lot. I would say that caller's range is actually very tight there. Like he should, I think like 10-9 suited would be like the worst hand he's calling with, and maybe in like $11 he's going to be calling a little wider maybe than he should be. But I still think overall like he really should not be calling that wide. I think almost even like in these tournaments, people are a little more scared in these kind of spots and like don't even call that wide. Really aggressive range. Let's see his opening. Any 10 suited. And then caller, let's fix that. 61%. So would you... Okay, let's go to the caller's range. You think this guy's range is accurate? Okay. No.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No? What is this range? I mean, maybe... We'll take Jack 10 off. I mean, maybe like Jack 10 off at like... or this frequency or something. And Queen 10 off probably kind of 50% we'll call it. I mean, I don't think he's flatting Queen 8 suited. I don't think he's flatting any of these.
Well, I mean, it's an $11 buy-in. It's definitely possible.
Yeah. It was interesting that like ICM Miser had it in their ranges. It kind of was just interesting in itself. So I mean, it's break even, you know. It's completely break even. I mean, it's not like it's as an ICM spot. It's just completely break even. Ace 10 off is the first go. Changing the ranges makes Ace 9 suited a little bit more of a go. It's definitely not a hugely winning spot. I
mean, I think we can take some. Ace Kings and Ace Queen suited out of the cutoffs range, because he's just going to jam those. Most of the time.
Yeah. True. Good point. Fair point.
I mean, Ace Kings for sure. He's just jamming.
We'll take off this. We'll just take off like these. I mean, he's probably could flat a lot of these too. I don't think.
I would think that, yeah, somebody scared would definitely flat Ace Jack. But Ace Queen's getting up there.
3 to 5% of the range. I'd probably keep King Queen suited in there. Probably take out Queen Queen, Jack Jack, 10-10. Obviously King King, Ace Ace. Although I mean, I would probably leave in Aces and Kings just because he could be trapping there. Like it's not impossible, but I'd lower the percentage significantly.
Yeah. I'll probably do like this on these. I think there is probably decent. Well, Queens I think is 3-betting a lot more actually. So. I mean, it could be a little bit off, you know what I mean? We're kind of just approximating here.
I think that's a lot better, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think 7s. You could be shoving sometimes 6s, so we'll just put those a little bit. Okay. All right. See how much this changes the result. And then we'll switch it real quick to EV, and then we'll keep going. Obviously, I'm kind of gotten stuck on this spot, but I do think it's a very interesting spot. So it's like it's break even. It's kind of not really changing anything. It's just a break even kind of moment, right? So this is one of those moments where, like, yeah, I think like if you were like at a place where big pay jumps, I probably wouldn't take this moment. But I don't hate it. I don't completely hate it, but I like it a lot more when it's just the one guy opening. I like it a lot less with the guy flatting. It definitely for me just frightens me a little bit. I still think it probably is fine. But, like, the second guy can, like, call you with Jack 10 suited now. Queen 10 suited, King 10, so he should call you with all those. Maybe he isn't a lot of the time, so that makes it a little bit better. That he probably isn't going to do it every time, even though his odds are absolutely insane. So let's do it by chip EV.
Yeah, that's the only issue with all of this is you're essentially resigned to the fact that you're getting called. It's just by what. And I will say that we are probably in a decent spot against cutoff. Under the gun is obviously a mystery, but they're opening such a significant amount of the time that I mean we're not necessarily that worried about them. Obviously, they can show up, but
Right. So
I think we're just
go ahead.
some sort of it's the cutoff.
So interestingly enough, ace nine off. This is the EV right now. These are EV charts. I mean, I didn't adjust the ranges, so I'm sure it's if I adjust the ranges, it might be a little better, a little worse. But it's not like a hugely winning shove with ace nine off. You're winning a little bit. Like Ben CB likes, I've heard him make this point where he looks at pocket aces and he likes to do if the percentage is not more than 10% of the pocket aces spot, he thinks his edge is so big that he's not going to take it. So on this board, it's like 10.3 is pocket aces. So any spot that's less than 1, he wouldn't take. I don't know if he fully follows this. Like if he's really not shoving 5s. Like I probably wouldn't shove 4s or 3s a lot of the time here though because you have no fold up. But maybe 4s. 3s I wouldn't for sure. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Like he takes something, like he probably takes ace-7 suited out of his shoving range here. Based on at least what he says. I don't know if he actually follows that. But it's an interesting thing to at least consider and kind of think about in these moments. So obviously it's a very tough spot. This isn't like just a like, oh hey, like what do I do here? Super easy. Like it's a very tough spot. And so I don't even think like that. Like I think the answer is more to fold, but I don't hate a shove too. Like obviously I think DMC's points about chipping up here and potentially being a good spot to run it up. You might not have other moments. There is a factor to that for sure.
There's a stack size dynamic here too, where the original opener is going to have super weak hands that he's willing to fold because he does not want to get stuck calling and then calling another 25 bigs. And if the original raiser folds, which he's incentivized to do now, the overcaller has to call off a decent percentage of his stack still to call us.
Yeah, I mean, I even though that's why I was kind of making the point that even though I think he has like amazing odds to call you, and he probably will be calling you most of the time, there is some percentage that he's going to make a bad fold, too. Which is kind of nice, but I think overall you should mostly assume he's going to call just because his odds are so crazy, and we are putting him on a generally stronger range right now. Like at least a very Broadway-based range of like Jack 10 suited is like on the lower end of it, Queen 10 suited on the lower end of it. So the math for him to call is probably going to be like 2.3 to 1 or something crazy like that, I bet. So he's getting like or at least 2 to 1. He's getting crazy odds to call. So that's why like you don't want to assume too hard that he's just going to fold, but like there is a little bit of a factor, especially in $11 that he might make a little bit of a bad fold. Let's see what he has if he shows. Now I'm fucking curious. I mean, like exactly kind of in my head what I was thinking. This is why I don't want to shove after the second guy is in here. Like, even though you guys made a lot of good points, to me, my instinct is telling me not to shove when that second guy gets in there this deep in the tournament. The first guy, I was like, let's go. The second guy is like, he has a strong hand. Like, he has ace-10. He has ace-jack. He could have a queen-jack suited. I mean, yeah, you're beating some of those. The king-jack suited. There are some of those range that you're beating, but he might even flat ace-queen there, guys like these. And it's not the worst thing ever. He's trying to get a reshove from behind. It's not the worst flat, really, with like an ace-queen suited or something, even if like I'm probably 3-betting it like every time. It's not really like the worst flat. So, and a lot of people, even if it's not something you're doing, they still might be doing it because in general, I think people are generally late in tournaments a little too tight. Play a little bit too tight, and people are really too crazy early mid stages. This is my complete opinion. People are too crazy early mid stages and get a lot more tight late stages. Another super interesting spot.
What's funny is the way those hands, the original raiser might have just ripped if we shoved, and then the scared guy might have folded ace jack.
True. That is, he probably would have ripped. Actually, that's a great point. Yep. That's a really good point. We might have won that hand,
and we would have won the hand.
Yeah. That's a good point. All right, let's look at this one real quick because this is honestly fucking interesting. I'm gonna try to see if I could find it right here. It's gonna say equal stacks, which is pretty inaccurate. I don't want to like spend a year on this. is a small blind raise first in. Am I retarded right now? There we go. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to use that offensive language. I know it offends some people. Versus small blind jam. So this is ICM calling ranges versus a small blind jam on 10 bigs. I think it was on like 9. This is definitely a little tight. I probably would call a little bit wider than this. I don't think I would fold King 8 suited, King 7 suited, King 6 suited, personally. Maybe not even King 5 suited when you're like the shortest stack in the room. This is equating.
This is the blind versus blind situation.
Yeah, and this is equating that everyone has 10 bigs. Like, that the small blind has 10 bigs, which is not accurate, obviously. The small blind has a big stack. You have 10 bigs. He's going to be shoving a lot wider. So, I wouldn't necessarily go by this. I don't mind the fold King 2 suited. I think in this moment it's a fine fold. In King 2 suited, just so you know, in EV spots is a call for sure in that moment. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but it's definitely a call. 9 bigs, big stack shoving on you in the small blind. He's going to be shoving a lot wider than King 2 suited. Should be shoving maybe even like any Queen X off. Maybe like any Jack suited, any 10 suited. And people do, I feel like, shove pretty decently in that small blind spot. Like, they'll still be not afraid to go for it. Anyway, we'll keep strolling along. If anyone has any questions, just ask. I think I'd be calling a little bit wider than the charts say in that moment. I just think it's way too exploitable if you're folding King 7 suited every time and you're like the shortest stack of the table. It kind of seems like incredibly exploitable play. Then you could just literally be shoving any 2 every single time, and you're just going to be like just printing on you essentially. So, let's see, frozen here. Folding here. Folding here. Folding here. So this is a shove, good shove here. We'll ask the room. I feel like most people would be in agreement on this one. Ace 8 off 7.5 bigs. And the hijack. Ooh. Huh. Fucking interesting, man. What does he do? I would at least call for sure. Definitely not fold.
Yeah, I mean, me and Kurt talked about this spot recently, how it's sort of like something like Ace 6's playability in a multi-way pot isn't all that exciting. Even if you like flop an ace, you're not exactly excited about it. I guess it's a little bit here since probably a little wider with their opens, but like the small blinds should be pretty strong there in the small blinds. We just saw them flat ace jack suited in a spot that was probably closer to a shove.
I could be wrong on this, but as you get deeper, because maybe we've talked about a lot, is I'm pretty positive on this. As you get deeper, remember how we've talked about, like, you know, like when you're 50 big blinds deep, you want to defend 3 ways a lot less. But when you're 10 big blinds deep, you could just get it in with top pair a lot and still be like ahead a lot.
Yeah.
So this
yeah, that's definitely a methodology that Kurt has. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those moments where you still should be flatting. It's a tough spot. I mean, it's definitely a tough spot. It's probably just slightly not good enough to shove. If I had ace 6 suited, I would shove. You know, I probably don't have much fold equity, and you might get called by better, but I think it's just a flat here in this one. It's a tough spot, though. It's definitely not an easy spot. Yeah, some of these are in pretty tough spots, you know? Like, some of these are definitely tough spots. Like that ace 9 off spot, I wouldn't call you for tight for playing that, you know? This is a little bit of an interesting one, too, so... They both have fucking garbage, you know? It's interesting. That's why it sucks you don't have fold equity. If you had more fold equity, I'd still, I'd probably shove a lot there if you had, like, actual fold equity, but without fold equity, that creates that spot into, like, a little bit of a murder's situation. Especially because the thing is with the small blind's range, I don't think the small blind has a good hand when he's fighting the small blind. Like, and I know you, Max, you were saying he might be a little stronger, and he could be, but like overall, I think he's gonna be 3-betting most his high ace-x suited. He shouldn't be fighting the small blind with them. He's probably gonna be fighting the small blind with a lot of like low ace-x suited or king jack suited or like king 10 suited or like queen jack offsuit or like queen 10 offsuit or king 10 offsuit or queen 9 suited. Like, that's kind of what I'm putting a small blind flatting range. I don't see him being super strong very often there. It's a good shove here. I'm going to leave it up for a second. I'm just going to take a pee real quick, guys.
What did you just say? Did he just leave to go pee? Nice. Well, let's see if anything interesting happens while he's gone.
Amazing that we got unsolicited bench advice from two separate people 2 months apart that are completely different advice. It's so interesting to me, you know? Like 2 months ago, one of the trainers at the gym's like, "Oh man, you're really discounting your bench by not arching your back, man." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then you get on this whole thing about how I should arch my back and it helps. And then this guy came up to me today, this like buff black dude, and he was like, "Hey man, you're gonna fuck up your back really bad by arching your back like that." And I'm like, "Well, the other trainer literally told me that." And he's like, "Oh, really? Oh man, I don't know, man."
Arch your back while you bench press?
No, you know, like that, like, do you know, like, that stance, like, you know, like, you ever seen benchers, like, they kind of, like, you put your feet on the ground, you kind of go on your toes a little bit, and you kind of, like, arch the bottom of your back, like, a tiny bit, you know? I don't know if you ever seen that, but, like, it's just a form, like, benchers do, and this guy was, like, telling me that I'm going to break my back doing that, and I don't really do it that much, and, like, I wasn't even doing it before, and I started doing it because this other guy told me to do it, so... Just funny, you know. I don't know. It's just funny because I both unsolicited advice. So, like, let's talk about this spot, guys. Are you flatting or are you folding here in the big blind with 4-3 suited? See, MK flatted, but I'm curious. What are you guys doing?
How big was the raise?
I think it was a min raise. I think it was a min raise.
Yeah, I call.
2.2. I mean, it's pretty inconsequential. I'd probably still call.
Okay. We got Max, and that's the move. Say call. We got some. Everyone's seen a call, so now they're probably gonna say it. Let me see. Versus not jam. Interesting, guys. So everyone's saying call. Are you guys seeing this chart?
Yeah, so it says fold, huh?
It says Queen 7 suited is a fold.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not folding that.
Yeah, but this is a very important point to make, guys. When you're deep in the tournament, this is ICM. You don't call every big blind just because it's a one big blind call because it was earlier in the tournament. Yes, if you're earlier in the tournament, it's a call. And I wouldn't even be pumped about it. The guy's opening under the gun on 12 bigs. Like, I'm not, like, thrilled on that call, really, even in that moment. But late in the tournament, yeah, like, I'm folding here every time in this exact
It's showing, isn't it showing, like, some raise of 5-4 suited?
Yeah, but that's sort of like what Kurt talked about in our last session, where if it's such a tiny percentage, like such an inconsequential percentage, then you just kind of throw it out.
I don't know why it's telling it's saying the min raise.
If you're doing that, if it says to do that like 4% of the time, you might as well just throw it out completely.
And I really don't know why it's saying to min raise sometimes with 5-4 suited.
Yeah, and it's saying to call with 6-5 suited and then split 7-6 suited.
Well, no, 7. It's still saying fold those. And it's saying call sometimes. Yeah, it's still mostly like fold in those spots.
Right. But it's mixing in some calling and raising.
The ICM, yeah, I don't know what the raising is super weird. I honestly don't fully understand that. Maybe we can ask Kurt a little bit about that next time. Like ace 5 off has a little bit of raise, but usually these are like, I wouldn't focus much on these. The ace 10 off is kind of an interesting one that has like a mix of like min raise and fold, which is like a crazy strategy I feel like to be taken there. But this just kind of emphasizes how little calling when the ICM and the stacks are this way, it wants you to be doing because there's ICM on the line. Let's go to EV.
What was this verse? What
10 big blind
position is that?
Versus under the gun. Maybe this is technically. Oh yeah, maybe Hun. We're a little off.
That guy's in the hijack, isn't he?
Let me fix it. You're right. 1 second.
I didn't see where he was. I didn't see how many players were on the table.
Yeah, I think it's 5-handed. He's under the gun. He's hijack.
He's in the hijack.
Cool. So mostly a fold. It's calling a little bit more now. A little bit more, but I would still fold 4-3 suited. My instinct.
But it's full jamming 5-4 suited.
Yeah, that's wild. And it's jamming ace 5 off and ace 4 off. And sometimes these solvers do wild shit, man. I don't even like. He's jamming queen 4 suited, queen 5 suited. But something I've learned in these kind of spots is I'm not trying to like flat too much in these moments. When the ICM is on the line, your range should tighten immensely when an under the gun opens, like immensely from the big blind. Like I'm not even like you don't even like need a call. Like let's say like you're both deeper stacked and guys opening under the gun. Like do you need a call king 3 off in the big blind every time? Maybe against hijack you do, but if it was like a 7-handed table, you could even just fold it sometimes. Like when you're getting close to these ICM situations that are going to be a lot more bad for you than good for you when you're playing a hand out of position with like a weaker hand. It's okay to like make certain folds ICM that you wouldn't make EV ever. I think it's an important thing to remember in these kind of spots. Just because you have the odds to call something late in the tournament doesn't mean it's the best play all the time. Like in an EV moment, it's an easy call. Like let's look real quick at EV, then we'll go back to tournament. I don't want to getting lost in the charts too much, but I want to at least show you guys. I mean, yeah, some of these charts are wild for sure. Some of them, like their plays, you're just like, huh, what? Like what? Doesn't even give me. We'll go 13 bigs then, because that's the closest you can get. So look at that. Everything's a call. Everything's a call. Literally, you're calling 80% of your range here, pretty much. Everything's a call. So this is actually super good. I'm glad that we got to see a 60% of your range is a call. While I don't really remember what it was on the other chart, but I bet it was like 5% or something is a call. So this is just the difference of EV versus ICM. And that's why I wanted to focus on these moments too of when you switch from one to the other, because this is how drastic it is. This is why you need to do that mental switch when you're late in tournaments. Like Kurt has a very, 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 very different approach at FTs than he does in the middle of the tournament. I can't emphasize that enough. He plays a much different style, even more than I do. I feel like he adjusts to ICM even more than I do. So it's an important thing to do, you know, like to know when these adjustments should happen and to be kind of following through in these moments when you do. Let me see if can we put the hand we're discussing back on screen? Yep. So let's see. We got the call here. Obviously, we flopped pretty fucking nice. Might be double time. So let's see how the hand plays out now. Yeah, I mean, 4-3 suited might be a better combo than like other like a king 3 off for sure. Like I agree that 4-3 suited could potentially play better against his range. I don't call that with 4-3 suited though. Maybe I'm missing something. I'll gladly ask Kurt about it. I'm pretty sure he's gonna probably agree with me. I'd probably just check shove here. I think it's just you're gonna look incredibly strong if you just raise here. So yeah, I like the shove. Good shove by him. Even in one big blind, he's very polarized in this bet. Right? Next one is 5-7 suited. Pretty interesting one. You can kind of go between opening and folding here. Another one, I don't really mind either option. I think I'd probably lean fold a little bit, but I don't mind occasionally popping an open in there. It kind of depends on your opponents. It's a little bit of an aggressive open. Definitely fine as a fold, though. I don't fold a fold. 7-6 suited, I would, if 7-6 suited probably in the middle of the tournament, I would shove it. Late in the tournament, I would probably just open. But I'd probably be opening 6-7 suited still there. I'd probably still honestly be shoving 7-8 suited, even if like ICM tells me not to be. And I bet ICM will tell me not to shove 7-8 suited there. But I think he gets through enough, and the small blind also, you still would have 6 big blinds back, I think, if he called you. So that kind of, anytime a guy doesn't have you covered in those moments, it definitely adds this little bit of a factor of like, all right, you can't get eliminated here. So that's a nice extra factor fold here with the king 6 off. So that's a nice extra factor to be able to shove when you can't be eliminated in that spot, you know? So I think I like calling here. Well, I should have asked you guys, I'm sorry. Kind of interesting, though. Like, I'm not even positive that, like, ICM will tell you to call here, though. That's how tight ICM will tell you to be sometimes in these spots. I think it's probably a fine call, though, when you're on 14 bigs especially, I'd be calling, because there's a lot more of a chance you can get in with a top pair and be good. You don't have to worry about getting in some crazy pot with, like, King X, board or anything like that. Like, I think this is one of those hands that might play fine whether you're shorter or deeper. I think it might be the bottom of the flatting ranges when you're deeper stacked. You could even be King 10 in some spots. And I think when you're shorter stacked, you got to flat that there. But I mean, like, I could be wrong on that, honestly. I could even not be fully right on that. Multi-way spots are a little tricky. I'll be able to... Let's look at that real quick. See if I can just find it real quick. I don't know if they have 3 ways. They have multi-ways. There it is. Okay. Problem is this, it's not going to give you good stacks here. All right, you had 15 bigs in the big blind. Let's just call it that. 35 big average, 15 bigs in the big blind. Versus... Where is he at? Here's the big blind. This is first... It's not multi-ways. Sorry, guys. That's not multi-ways. Oh, they don't have multi-ways ICM. Okay, we can't even calculate it. So this is an ICM Iser spot, honestly. We can't even calculate a multi-ways in these charts. In ICM, they only have EV spots, multi-ways. If you guys want me to take a look at ICM Iser, I will. Just let me know. I just don't want to drag this on forever also, so... If you guys
let's probably keep it moving.
Okay.
We want to cover as much as we can. We've only got about 20, 30 minutes left.
For sure. Nice walk there. I like the fold here on the button with along the 11.7 bigs. Kind of becomes interesting if you got King 5 suited there. I like the fold here. Let's find more hands. Let's find more hands. What are you guys doing here with Queen 5 off?
We've got about a 3-to-1 fold to call ratio in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I see Fountain Flood says fold. Kenny put a picture of a lion. Rhodesian says fold.
He's alive.
Kenny's on vacation. He's just chilling. Paid 80 USD for 1 gig of data to post that emoji.
Worth it.
All right, fold. Fold. We got fold. Final Flood says fold. Rhodesian says fold. That's Move says fold. DMC says calling. I shoved King 8 from the hand before, way before calling Queen 5 off. Well, yeah, that's fair. I mean, that King 8 off is not a shove, I will say, Kurt. So if you are shoving that, that's a little loose in that moment. Like in the cutoff specifically, for sure. I don't even think it's technically a shove on the button. I'm not going to lie. I think if you look at the charts, it's going to tell you not to even shove the button. All right, good fold here. So I think everyone is in lockstep that we're folding. DMC, it's kind of like what we were just talking about the last hand about where I was showing you on the charts where, like, when the stacks get this short, like, you don't want to just, I guess, call every single spot that might be plus EV. There has to be this now new factor of ICM. So, like, you know, Queen 5 off probably isn't a call in that spot anyway, but even if the button opened, for example, I'd fold the Queen 5 off. So, in that moment. So, like, I just tighten my calling ranges a little bit late in the tournament to avoid, like, the super sticky, weird spots, like, because tournament life is a huge thing now. It becomes a lot more important. Your tournament life is a lot more important when there's pay jumps. It's kind of a good way to think about it. Like, it really starts mattering a lot more, you know, and I've been trying to consider that a lot more. I had a period of time 2 years ago where I feel like I was, like, money bubbling or, like FT bubbling every tournament because I was just playing EV like nonstop and like almost not even adjusting to ICM and just always going for first, and it was just kept like costing me. I would flat all those big blind spots. I'd go for all the aggressive plays, and there has to be this kind of give and take. And honestly, Kurt's got me in a really good mindset of that because I feel like he is a lot tighter than me ICM wise, and I just saw how tight he would be in certain spots, and he obviously crushes it as hard as possible. So like the fold here with the King 2 off. I was going to ask you guys, but I already said I like the fold.
Well, on that note, I do think that you and Kurt are distinctly different players in terms of, like, you're a little more exploitative and Kurt's a little more, like, GTO and structured. So, like, that's not necessarily all that important, considering you guys are so different, you know.
For sure. But no, I do think, like, late in tournaments, there's things that could be gained from all kinds of different mindsets. But I do think the ICM, like, the GTO mindset is important. A lot of it is just knowing when to switch from one mindset to the other. Because I do think that's, like, such a factor that people don't understand. Like, I see people when they're 80 left in a tournament being like, "Oh, it's ICM. I gotta play super tight." And, like, I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not at all ICM. Like, and people start getting really tight and, like, not taking any spot. And you're like, "Bro, you're just missing all the moments right now." Like, interesting spot here with the Ace 8. Okay, so what are you guys doing here? Discord just quit? Is everyone here? Fuck's sake.
GG, Steve.
Hey, I'm back. I don't even know what just happened. That was weird. The Discord just quit out of nowhere. You guys see it now? We're back?
Yep, it's back.
All right. Apologies. I literally don't. That was really weird. I clicked, like, I had to say something to Kenny, and then it just disappeared. I blame Kenny. He might have rugged us, guys. I was literally going to compliment Kenny and be like, "Oh, I miss you, dude." That's what I did. You know, that's what I get, I guess.
The gods didn't want you to send it.
My stream's a little bit blurry, probably just because of my connection. How many bigs does he have?
No, mine's blurry too, Rhodesian. Mine's definitely blurry.
Hopefully it improves, but yeah, he's got, has it been blurry the whole time, or does it just get blurry now?
Yeah, it just got significantly more blurry just now.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully it comes back here in a second. So we have 9.5 bigs in the big blind with Ace 8 off. That Trifaldino guy who looks like the chip blade opens the button. Oh, he shrunk the tables a little bit. Okay, but we should get to the FT here in a second. DMC says rip. That's the move, says rip. Rhodesia says he might shove this. All right, fist bump shove. Rhodesia says might shove. Yeah, guys, I would say this is a shove. I agree with all that. Like we said, this guy could be opening 100% on the button. On the button, he could literally be opening close to 100% or like 90% or like 80%. So considering he's the chip leader and he should be doing that, he seems to understand that too. He should be opening all the time. It's a great shove spot. I think you actually have a little bit of fold equity even, all things considered. Good shove here, MK. I bet he folds. Yeah, I bet he's just literally opening fucking like 8-3 suited and shit, you know? Even if you didn't have fold equity, it's a shove. It just doesn't even matter. Ooh. Okay, what are you guys doing here?
Can you explain the situation? It's a little blurry for me. It looks like button open, and we have how many bigs?
I'm sorry, Max. I just said in the chat, but I'll explain it here too. The button open.
Oh, gotcha.
No, it's fine. I should explain both anyway. Button open 30 bigs. We got 12.5 in the small blind with Queen Jack suited.
There we go. Okay, thank you.
By the way, MK, I don't see what you're doing in these spots, so you can always like tell us after everyone talks if you change your mind for some reason at a moment or anything. You know what I mean? Obviously, you don't have to, but if you did for some reason in some spot, second jam in a row, fold equity, rip, fist bump jam. DMC says rip Rhodesian, second jam in a row, fold equity. That's the move. Seems like we're pretty set on ripping here. Just enough fold equity. Yeah, I think it's, I agree with all these. The sentiment, I think it's just way too strong of a hand. Regardless, I think Jack 10 suited, I'd probably shove here too, even if maybe you got a little fold equity, not like a ton, but like you got enough for sure. People raise fold down to 12.5 bigs in this spot. Quite a bit. Like I probably, maybe not Jack 9 suited, Queen 9 suited I'd shove here though. I shove Queen 10 suited. I think you have enough fold equity and like it just gets through enough and it runs even relatively okay against the range he's going to call you with. He might call you like an ace 7 suited, some shit, or like maybe even kind of just comes in there with ace 5 suited, can't fold it, or calls you like a low pair. Like you're just going to do okay regardless. So I'd probably be okay with when you have like just enough fold. Like if I had 10 bigs, I wouldn't shove Queen 9 suited, but with like 12 and a half, I would. Like, so it's like close, like it's one of kind of those moments. I'm not like pumped about shoving Queen 9 suited. I might not do it every single time. Queen 10 suited, I would do every single time probably in this moment. Queen Jack suited, I'm doing every single time in this moment. So we'll get into the FT. Getting through.
Yeah, it's never fun when you get to the FT and you see that you're the first one all in.
Yeah. I think we'll still be able to get through this just because this is like one table. I think we'll be able to get through. I just kind of really digressed before on the charts and shit. Just wanted to show you some of those things about those in the EV, ICM stuff. But I'm willing to go a little bit past 7 p.m. Eastern to finish it, guys. Max, if you need to leave or anything, obviously completely cool at that time.
Yeah, I just have plans at 7:15. I'll just take off then. That's no big deal.
Sounds good. I think we'll be able to get through it pretty quickly. Let's just look at that hand real quick, just for... No, he just reshoved jacks on the short stack. See if there's something else interesting we could look at from other people. So we got 2 big blinds call. We won't do too many of these. I'll just do this real quick and then we'll hop through. So we got a check call in the big blind here. The 10, 6, 6, 2 heart board, 10, 10 of hearts, 6 of hearts, jack of hearts on the turn. The original razor checks on the turn, another 10 on the river. It's kind of interesting. Like, I wonder what big blind hat. Wow. Wow.
I was just going to say, I'm jamming this river.
It's a pretty perks jam for sure. When he checks there, I don't really.
I mean, the guy's not checking a full house.
I don't think he's checking. I mean, he could check like a 6, but like he definitely is not. I don't think he's checking a 10 usually. He might, but he's not usually doing it. I'm definitely in agreement with that. Interesting hand. Guy's probably got like ace high, you know, or he's got I guess a flush that he might have to just fold. Probably would just fold. Okay. Folding there. Folding here. By the way, if just as a little suggestion, like it's obviously all good MK, but in the future, if you ever have multiple tables, you could even send us. Maybe you don't even play multiple tables, but like we just can like review a lot then, you know, and it goes like we just got a lot more we could review then. So we always prefer that, but we're cool doing one table too, but just had to throw that out there. All right, interesting one. Yeah, ace-4 suited. We're 8-handed. We just got to the FT a little while ago, under the gun. We have 10.85 big blinds, pretty much 11 big blinds, a little under 11. What are you guys doing here? All right, that's the move. Says jam. DMC says he's folding. Slimer says open. Wow, we're getting a variety of opinions on this one. Finally.
I'm reading this right. It's like 10.35 big blinds.
10.85, yeah. Close enough.
10.85.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea, Slammer's idea. I mean, I probably wouldn't do it, but I mean, ace-4 suit is a good hand to like balance out, like when it seems so obvious that somebody's like opening aces with 10 bigs, you know, like this is a good hand to probably balance that out with. So you're not only doing it with like the top 3% of your range.
Okay. Let's see what everyone else is saying. All right, we got DMC says oddly enough I'm folding. Desmove says jam. Slammer says open 2.3x. Rhodesian says rip. DMC says he actually likes the idea of opening. Playing poker says 10 big blinds. Oh yeah, I'm playing poker. I just saw Slammer's jamming it.
Maybe I'm too tight.
Yeah, Slammer's jamming it. I was okay. I was gonna say I was a little surprised you were opening it, Slammer, because I wouldn't be opening it on. This is too short.
Yeah, I don't hate the concept of opening, but I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's just ace-4 suited is a really good hand, I think, to jam here. You're pretty much tied for the shortest stack in the room. There's you look really strong. You might even get some like ace-9s to fold and stuff like that, and like queen-jack suited and king-queens. And I mean, you're ahead of those hands, but it's just a good jam spot in my opinion. I think it's just you can't miss these kind of jam spots when you're like the short stack in the room. Like I don't like to think about ICM too much when you're 8-9 left. Like you still think about it and you still incorporate it, but I like to not miss the good spots. So there's not any kind of thing where it's like, oh, one guy has like 1 big blind and one guy has like 2 big blinds and everyone else is really big. And like there's not this like, and you're in the middle. It's not like this weird dynamic of it. Ace-4 suit's a very strong hand too. It runs. It's like 37% or something against kings and queens and jacks, and even if he has like ace king, like you're still like 30% or a little bit more than that, whatever. Like, and there's a lot of hands that you could still. It just runs pretty good even against the best of his range. Is essentially what I'm trying to say. And I just think it's too strong here. I think you can't be folding it here. I think with 8 left, you can't be folding it. Like, I'm not like pumped about it. And ace 2 suited, I think I would fold. I think ace 3 suited, I would begin to jam. I could be a little bit off on this. I don't want to go to the charts. I've been doing that so much. So you guys can look at the charts. We can figure it out.
I'm actually curious for my own curiosity.
All right, let's look.
Fold here, and I'm in the minority, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, let's look. Okay, so let me just look at the stacks real quick and try to get like an accurate assessment. To say the average here, average is 700K, whatever that means. That's 25 bigs. Okay. 25 bigs, and you got ace 4 suited, UTG1. So that's like, this is 6-handed.
It's middle position.
It's just 6-handed. We're just gonna have to roll with it. It's 8-handed, yeah, but we're gonna have to just go with low jack here because there's no middle position. All right. Okay, and then low jack. It's under the gun? Under the gun 1, okay. I'm just going to call it under the gun with how these are, so. So interesting. Well, what is it saying to only raise?
No, it looks like it's 50-50 split between fold and jam.
Hold on. No, that's not jam, that's raise.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I mean, Slammers, she might have misunderstood the situation, but I actually didn't hate the idea of that.
I have to see something. Hold on. Okay. I know why this is going on. So this is a very interesting thing. 'Cause this is like a very solver thing that I don't play like this. This is where I differ from the solvers personally, and Kurt might be a lot more lockstep. Like, so this is interesting. It's saying that it could be a fold actually with the ace 4 suited. I'm wrong about the ace 3 suited. Ace 3 suited looks like it should just be a fold. So actually that's my error on that one. Ace 4 suited looks like it's between it's like 40% raise and 60% fold. This is also 13 big blinds. He has 11, 10.8. It's a lot shorter. 7 is for sure a shove. Let me try 10 if I could find it. There's no 10, okay. I don't have a 10. Well, let me try the 10 here. A little shorter average at the table. So 10, you see Max is working in a shove. So, no, actually my point makes sense. Okay, so 10 is shoving a lot.
Okay.
Ace 4 suited, ace 5 suited, 10 is shoving a lot. So 13 bigs isn't. I remember this now because solvers never shove 13 bigs. Ever. It's kind of crazy, actually. Like, late in the tournament, they never shove 13 bigs, which I feel like I do sometimes. So that's, like, a little bit where we differ, but I get it. Like, 13 bigs is a little bit bordering where you're, like, shoving a little bit big. I don't know, But, like, ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited they're playing a mix. Ace 5 suited looks like it's a 50-50 mix. I definitely like shoving ace 5 suited, though. And ace 4 suited looks like it's more of a shove. So I'd probably begin shoving ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, personally. And then, like, but interestingly, you're not shoving ace 6, ace 7 suited, or ace 8 suited, weirdly enough. I might shove ace 8 suited sometimes. But you're not, I wouldn't shove these as much. I like these 3 hands, ace 5, ace 4, ace 3, more than these 2, because of the straight possibilities.
So is this saying to raise call with those hands?
Yeah, which is really weird, right? I don't really understand that.
I mean, it makes sense because some of the hands that are going to shove on you are going to be small pairs that you have better equity against. And then the ace 4 and ace 5 blocks 4s and 5s.
True. And then also, but it's interesting, having you raise, I'm sure some of these are raised folds, like king queen off's probably a raised fold. King jack off's probably a raised fold, which I'm not doing. It's also raising ace 9 off sometimes, which I'm not doing either. I'm usually folding ace 9 off in this position. Ace 10 off is exclusively a raise, which I'm not even positive what they're doing with that. I'm assuming they're folding to a lot of shoves with ace 10 off, but I'm not positive about that. So yeah, very interesting to see for sure. Interesting in the results. Let me see if what anyone's saying in the chat. Sure, guys, work late to meeting. Never studied a solver. So yeah, interesting to see for sure. So I mean, I'm not that far off with it. I just ace 3 suited is not a shove, so I'll definitely take that into the memory bank. But it could be a raise, so it's like kind of interesting, you know, because I'm not raising on 10 big blinds there like almost ever. I very occasionally am. Maybe not enough. I don't know. I don't have that much of that in my range. So interesting spot we're learning, right? I think it's slightly a shove, it seems like, what we're kind of determined from that. If you had maybe 12 bigs, then it's maybe they wouldn't like shoving as much. So I like the shove here. Good shove, MK. No one won the hand in the chat. I don't know. It's interesting. I think the people who said shove is the best result. I don't think. What was it? Did it say fold or raise? I don't remember the second result. Raise. Okay. And then 13 bigs. I know it was a little bit different. But this is more like not 13 bigs. So 13 bigs. Sometimes you fold it. So that kind of makes sense. Like 13 bigs kind of almost like feels logical. Like it's like an awkward stack to play that hand a little bit. But interesting. So ace 3 suited is a fold though in a lot of these spots, or a raise on the 10 big stack. So I'd say the right answers are raising or shoving. Shoving being the number one probably right answer. I would, like I said, not get too caught up in the 50-50 of those. Like, if the spot's 50-50, then yes, you should be whatever, like, flipping it like Kurt does and whatever that is, you know what I mean? Doing the, you know, rolling it. Like, I don't do that, but I understand why he does that. And there are moments for doing that, but unless the spot is like 50-50, 40-60, like, you don't need to be, like, rolling or anything, or be like, oh, I gotta do this 10% of the time. I would just simplify it and not do that and just do the 90%. Wow, nice stale. He's back. King 9 off here on the button. What are you doing King 9 off on the button if it gets to you? I say that's super interesting. Shove. Okay, that's the move. Says shove. Slammer says shove. DMC says call. DMC, hold on. Clarify with me. Are you calling the open on the button here? Let's go back here. This is an important clarification now. You got 11.3 bigs on the button. If you're first in the pot, you're shoving. And then shove first in. Okay, so it seems like a few people saying shove first in. Folding otherwise. I'm actually interested in what the chart is going to say here, because I'm actually not positive. And that makes those spots a lot more interesting. All right. Button, 10 bigs. It's kind of close. One guy's 5, one guy's 20. One guy's 10. That's not as, no, that's not accurate. That's not going to be accurate. Button. You got 11, so let's say 10 bigs, and then the other guys, 30, 40. That's a lot. No. I don't think I'm going to find this one. Just say this. They both have them covered. Let's just call it that. All right. Button here with the 10 big blinds. King 9 off is a fold or a raise. I had a feeling it was going to be a fold. But also I completely get why you guys are saying shove, because it's the easiest EV shove ever. It's like the easiest EV shove ever. Interesting. Now this is like, look at this. This is super interesting now. This is really interesting. So now we have a 5 big stack in the small blind. So we actually have, we don't have the risk of getting eliminated by him. And it's raising king 9 off. So I guess it's raising, calling him, and then folding to the other guy. So that's very interesting, guys. I was actually leaning fold with the king 9 off in an ICM moment. But I don't mind a shove sometimes. I think it depends a little bit. I want to show you guys this because I had a feeling they're going to tell you to fold this spot with ICM. This is where like ICM and EV are like, this is why I talked about when does ICM meet EV? EV, this is a snap shove, easiest shove. But ICM, this is gets a lot more complicated. So when do those two moments collide? That's why I keep asking you that, because it's almost like you got to figure it out for yourself a little bit when those two moments are. I'm trying to give you some good guidelines of it, but you kind of have to figure it out for yourself. Like in these moments, ICM is a pretty big factor. You're probably 8 left in a tournament with over 1,000 people or something. It's probably a decent factor at this point. So I'd probably be following a little closer to it. But if you want to still be like, hey, 8 left, that's still EV for me. I'm going to shove it. I don't think that's unreasonable thought process either. Like that's why the thing with poker is like sometimes 2 thought process can be okay. But I do think I personally, honestly was leaning a little bit fold. But I don't mind. I would shove king 10 off. I don't mind a shove either. I would fold king 8 off for sure. For sure fold king 8 off. So that's how close it is, you know? So you got to kind of start thinking about these shove spots late. Like not every spot that's plus EV is good when it's ICM is on the line. But also on that note, I don't mind shoving king 9 off. I am kind of in between on this spot. I used to always shove it until I've been studying with Kurt. Now I'm like, well, I bet Kurt isn't shoving that spot. If I had to guess, he might be, though, because he might say that people aren't calling wide enough in these spots, which is a very fair assessment, too. And then he might make him want to shove those spots that are a little bit in between like that. I did want to show it to you guys so you guys can understand, like, it's not, like, the easiest, like, it's not as obvious as it seems sometimes in those spots. So this should be played, okay, let's see what you guys think should be happen here. I think I know what you guys are going to say. Let's see if you guys say it. I gave too much away.
Yeah, maybe you'll leave a little bit of mystery next time, Steve.
Well, he might be raising, it looks like, so that's why I was like, you know.
That would be interesting.
That's the move, be nice. Yeah, so he's raising here, so that's why I saw he might be raising. That's why I wanted to make sure and ask. So yeah, this is just a shove. Like, there's just nothing, not really too, it's just similar, like, you know, like the other spots you've been taking, like the ace-4 suited spot, and, you know, that ace-4, this is a better shove than the ace-4 suited spot, obviously, so just no need to do this. You're gonna, I don't feel like I need to go into too much detail in this one. It's just a profitable shove in this moment, and your last in chips, or your second last in chips, I guess. So it's still profitable enough. It's not like you're like a middling stack and there's like 2 guys, like 1 big blind or something. Then it's like a different story. You're like 12 bigs right now and there's 2 guys and 1 big blind. That's a different story. But in this moment, you just gotta shove it. There's no real like huge ICM implications of not shoving it. MK, you're welcome. If you want to explain your thought process or anything while you open, don't be, nothing to be worried about. So guys, don't react like, you know, I know some of you guys, it might seem obvious, but we're trying to like make sure everyone's on the same page with all these spots. And there's really no silly questions at all. Like we're, you know.
Well, you know, like in situations like this, I'm very much in the mindset of like, there's no necessarily mistakes in poker. Like there's as long as you have like a rationale behind the decisions you're making. Like if this is like a particular range that he's using, like what I was talking about earlier, to balance out his like aces and kings opening range where it looks a lot stronger than the value of the hand, then that's like a perfectly reasonable explanation for doing that, and it worked. So like, well, a lot of people would be, like 99.5% of people would probably shove there. There are a percentage of people that would look at that hand and be like, okay, so ace jack, ace 10 off that don't have a ton of playability post flop or a little bit. Whoa.
Let's go.
Okay. If they use those particular hands to balance out the top 2-3% of their opening range, then that's fine.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think
that's
it's still just a shove, but I do get like the point you're making for sure. And these are just kind of like some of these shorter stack spots. A lot of them are like, you just gotta study them, and they're gonna become like second nature. It's just you gotta experience them, study them, and they're gonna become second nature over time. And it becomes a little bit obviously tricky once you get late, because it's not just like, is this the right shove? Is this not? You gotta incorporate ICM and the other stacks and all that stuff happening. But the more you just study, and a lot of these are just experience, and it just comes over time, and you'll get better at them over time. Like it just
and at a final table, especially when you're not experienced, there's a lot of variables at play, and a lot of nervousness at play. So, like, I totally understand.
I remember when he did this, because he was on stream and he had no stream delay. I think we'll still be able to see your hands, right? Can we see it?
So you're just hiding cards.
Do you show him? You show him at some point, right? How do we know we have? Let me see. Did he figure out what he had before the hand? Jack 9 off, and then he covered it? No, hold on. Next hand. Are we going to be able to see the hand, though? Let's just see. I mean, I'm sure, unless you are seeing it beyond this, which you could do that too, potentially. I saw a king. Wait, are we going to be able to see it? Okay. Just going to have to wait for him to move it, dude.
You see me move it over, that's when I do it. Sorry. Okay, so we're not going to see the hands until he moves it. So probably just fast forward through, huh?
Yeah.
Or do you have a hand all in here? No.
Yeah, so we got elimination. Shove in the small blind, call the big blind with the kick 7 off. I mean, definitely a tough spot for the big blind there, like 7 bigs. I don't honestly even 100% know what I'm doing. I might call that too. I saw a 7, but when do you move it? Because I'm not seeing your cards. Like I haven't seen you move it. Like I haven't seen your card. Oh, there we go. He did it. Let's go.
There we go. Does he move it the whole time, or does he over it?
MK, we're struggling with this ourselves because we want to have a lot of my streams in the Discord in the future, and it's going to be no stream delay. And we're figuring out what the best way to do it is. In Streamlabs, you can kind of do this, actually. Or you could, I saw an ace. Well, you could put something... or you could put something, over it, and, for other people, it looks like your cards are covered, but for you can see them. So there's a way to do it in, Streamlabs. Ace 9? That's the move. It's got fucking good eyes. Oh, there. Wow. Good eye. That's the move. I didn't see the 9. I've only been seeing one card. Alright, let's keep going. Easy fold here, ace 9. Say most people are hopefully in agreement with that. We're just folding without looking now. Let's go. Let's see what the pay jumps are real quick, actually. Let's see that. Alright, so that's 17.
All right, I gotta take off. But
man.
I'm doing this with all you guys. But I'll catch you guys at the next one.
Alright, peace, Max. Good having you, man.
See ya.
Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one. So 1742 for first, 1075 for second, 740 for third, fourth is 570, fifth is 466, sixth is 370, 290 for seven. So pretty big pay jumps at this point because it's $11 buy-in. And the pay jumps are like 8 buy-ins and 9 buy-ins and 10 buy-ins and then 20 buy-ins and then 30 buy-ins and 70 buy-ins. So that's a lot of buy-ins. So that's kind of how you should be thinking about the pay jumps, you know? But like you could look when it's like, you know, like 18 left, it's like 1 buy-in or 2 buy-ins or like 27 left. And like, yeah, I mean, it's okay, but like, you don't have to care about that. You don't have to care about the ICM very much then. Until when you start getting to these bigger numbers, these bigger, like even with 12 to 9, it's 50 or 5 buy-ins, which is decently significant, honestly. So not like hugely significant, but and then you go from 9 to 8, it's like 6 buy-ins. All right, let's keep going. Oh, I saw a jack. Oh, there's 9 suited. Okay. All right. Ooh, this is an interesting one. This is a super interesting one. I honestly don't even know what the right play is. What y'all doing here?
Is there still a player to his right there?
Yeah. The guy looks like he's got a little fish hook. Yeah.
Okay, I see the button over there. Yeah, got it.
I don't know what his stack is. Let me see if I can take a look real quick. DMC says in this exact spot he's jamming. See, whack-a-bump, slammer. That's the move. What y'all thinking? I know slammer's deep in a tournament. Hopefully she's winning it. Can't be probably looking at every spot. Shouldn't be. Super borderline whack-a-bump. I'd fold. I don't think there's... I mean, I think this is a very close spot regardless. I'm honestly not sure what it's gonna say when you're like tied for the short stack. See, slammer says she's probably folded. He's got 21 bigs. Okay. All right. That's the one that says probably jam, but close. Good for Chippy V. Yeah, Chippy V, the guys, this is 100% a jam, just so you guys know. If you're in a regular tournament, this is a jam. If you're not jamming this spot, you got to be jamming this spot. 10 bigs is a jam here. Probably 11 bigs is a jam here. Probably 12 bigs is a jam here. Maybe not 12. 11 is probably, though. And it's just a regular tournament spot. But let's look at late. Okay, 10 big blinds. You got 2 guys with 10 bigs. You're 10 big blinds and the 7 left, and you're in the low jacks. You're going to be under the gun. All right. One other guy with 10 bigs. 13 maybe we'll say. 10. This looks pretty close. There's one shorter stack here, so not really. This is pretty close. Well, there's one shorter stack here too. Okay. Under the gun. All right, let's read the responses. Probably jam, but close. Slammer says she'd probably fold it. Whack-a-bump says super borderline, but he'd fold. That DMC says probably jamming. Rhodesian says fold. MK says jam, jam, jam. DMC says crying jam, because same as other short stack. Forgot what the ladder is too. The ladder is like $100, I think, or $80 or something, which is like 8 to 10 pay jumps. But there's a 5 big stack in the room, so let's try to get rid of that. It says fold in that one. Let's say everyone covers you, okay? Still a fold. That's with a similar stack to you. Interesting. I was really in between. In my head, I felt like Solver's going to tell me to fold, but I might jam. But I actually am very okay, I think, with a fold in this spot. I think I'd be okay with it. I think Jack 10 suited is where I would start in my head. It's because of just the ICM of the situation. It's not an easy spot. Like even when you're like 10 bigs in a normal tournament, you're not pumped to jam here. It's just a jam. You're not like pumped about it though. You know, like Jack 8 suited wouldn't be a jam here. So at least I'm pretty sure it's not. It could be like very slightly like a break even, but like it's not really overall a jam, at least for me. So interesting to see. So yeah, Jack 9 suit's not a jam here, right? And obviously I know in an EV moment it is a jam here. So something to think about. I'm not saying you have to never jam here. I would jam the hijack. This is, you always have to remember when you're deep in these tournaments, you gotta like take it like a different step of like the close spots you're gonna have to take out of your shoving range if you're like in these ICM moments where the math says you gotta be like a little tighter. For sure, of course, MK. We're almost done. We'll finish this up soon. Hopefully you don't have to go. I know, I'm sorry this went so long, like 2 hours, you know. I was expecting more to be like an hour and a half, but now that we're into it, I feel like we could just finish it pretty easily, so. And I started the video late anyway, like 40 minutes in. Alright, sounds good, sounds good. Alright, so he opens it up here. I don't, like, hate this. I honestly don't hate this. Like, it's kind of blade, but, like, I just don't open on 10 bigs, like, almost ever. Doesn't have any raise in this one. I think it's just, like, when you're already the shortest stack. Let's see if the other, if you're on this one. This one. No, still not opening at all. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate the thought of it though. I really don't though. I kind of like it actually. It's just this is something what the solvers say, like what the charts say. It's not like it's 100% right, but it's just too easy for like any of these guys. You just have 4 guys back that could easily shove you. You should be. I don't like when people do this. I don't always just put them on aces and kings. I just want to say that. So you guys understand that. I know it's just, to you it might look like it's only aces and kings. To me it looks like a guy that doesn't want to bust a lot of the time. That's what it looks like to me a lot of the time. So you got to remember that good players think that a lot. Like, it does look like it's very strong, but it also isn't just like, oh, big blind has 8s. He's just going to flat. No, he's shoving you. He's shoving you like every time. He has ace jack suited, ace 10 suited. He's just going to shove you. Ace jack off suited. He's just going to shove you like almost every time in my opinion. So you got to kind of remember that it doesn't look maybe as strong as it might feel to you. It is strong, and it is overall kind of strong. And I almost like that thought of what someone said earlier, maybe Rhodesian or DMC, that said like min raising is almost better at this moment because it looks kind of stronger. Because if you did have aces or kings, you probably would just go as small as humanly possible, right? So like if you are doing it, I almost do kind of like that in like a weird mindfuck kind of way. But I probably would just fold here. I wouldn't be raised. I don't have a raise range on my 10 big stack, 9 big stack. I know Max was saying he does it sometimes, and I'm okay. I know some people do it, but I don't like it as much. I like when I have that stack to get my full double, and not when I double from it to go to 7 to 15 bigs, or 7, let's say 7 to 16 bigs with the blinds. Instead, it'll go from 10 to 24 bigs or 23 bigs, right? It's a huge difference. So I like saving it for those kind of moments and just getting good reshoves and finding the good shove spots when I'm on the short stack. But I don't hate the thought of this. I really don't. But I think it's a cool thought. It's not a big part of my range, and I feel fine that it's not, honestly. But I think there are certain moments that you could occasionally raise it up there. But it's just not really a big part of my range. Yes, 2-4 off here. See what he had, just to double check the hand. Like, you guys know I'm not afraid to bust a tournament. You guys know how aggressive I can play in certain moments. So it's like, you know, it's almost like you have to take a different approach. I'm trying to, like, I'm telling you, like 2-3 years ago, I was like most of you guys who are saying shove. Like, I understand why you think it's a shove. Like, I get it very strongly. I get it. It's the EV shove. You just want to take the best play possible, whatever, right? Like, you know, like I get it, but like you got to take a different approach a little bit when you're deep, and this is how you move up pay jumps. This is how you know, I'm not always playing tight. I also play very aggressive on the big stack late in the tournament. So you have to just adjust to the situation. Right now, MK's been in the short stack most of the tournament, and when you're the shortest stack, you can always play a little bit more aggressive because you have less ICM, because when you're literally the last person at the table, like let's say like MK has like 5 bigs right now and it's 9 bigs, 19 bigs. He's significantly last place, and you can play a little bit more EV at that moment because there's no other ICM of the situation for you to worry about. If you busted right now, you would get 5th or 6th. So you don't really have to worry about like moving up pay jumps too much. Like you got to get to a place where you actually can. Kurt explains this point a lot better than I do, but it's just like you're last in chips. You're pretty much, you would be, if you busted right now, you'd be 6th. So you don't have any kind of like ICM of like, oh, you're missing this jump, and like, it's definitely not the best way to explain it. I think there's a better way to explain it, but E7 I see. Let's see what happens. All right. No, we're not frozen. .2 BBs. I mean, I guess it's too obvious. Alright, I like the shove. I like the shove and the dub. Shove and dub. The old shove and dub. Yeah, I like the shove here. I think it's self-explanatory. What do you have? I missed it. Well, not do shed hole ched, actually. 3 ched. Ace 5. If it's folded to you in the hijack, what would you do with the ace 5 off here, guys? What would you do with the ace 5 off? It's folded here in the hijack. Let's hear it. Jam, DMC. Jam, MKultra. You have 12.5 BBs. Jam Slammer. I'm seeing a trend. Ace 5 offsuit. Ace 5 off. 12.5 BBs. Hijack. He is 5 of 6. Is 5 of 6. We got a lot of people saying jam. What's up? It's story time. I think your mic might be on, bud. Laddie.
I'll start.
Oh, you're good, man. What up?
Not too bad.
So, okay, let's just talk about the ace 5, because this is a very important thing to talk about. See, that's the move that he's got to say, and then we'll roll with it. So ace 5 off, 12.5 PBs in the hijack. Second last in chips. Still jam, I guess, but no fist bump. Okay. That's the move. I think we determined that I play all tournaments, like, so I'm closer to chip EV. Jam. Alright, guys, I'm actually a little surprised by these answers. This is, like, a very easy fold, in my opinion, in the hijack. It's just not really it's not really a spot you ever want to be going with in a sense of ICM. I'd honestly be folding it in a chip EV spot too. So I'd actually be folding that spot in like a chip EV spot even with 12.5 bigs. So let's, I mean, we got to look at it. It's important to look at that so you guys see it. He's got 12.5. So let's say he's got 13 in the hijack. One guy short. This is like actually exactly what it is. Perfect. So we're folding all the way through ace-8 off. Ace-8 off is a very small raise. Like I said, when it shows this kind of raise, we're not going with it. So we're probably folding ace-8 off here, just to show you. Ace-9 off is just a raise, it says. Ace-10 off is just a raise. I'm not saying you're going to just... I like shoving ace-10 off here. I might even shove ace-9 off occasionally. I don't love shoving ace-9 off overall, but like I'm relatively okay with it in like the lower ace-x suited type hands. But ace-5 off is like a very... honestly like a slam dunk fold in this spot. So just study these charts. That's why studying these charts is so important. So you get familiar with this. Let's look at EV, guys. Let's even look at EV. Let's see how off I am on the EV. And I bet at EV, if it's a shove, it's going to be like a shove, just barely a shove. $15 big blind strategies. They give you all this like weird stuff. Okay, this is 15 big, so I'll go for 13 after if I can. So ace-5 off, you're raising 27% and you're folding 72% on 15 bigs, right? Soak this in for a second, guys. Just want you guys to see it. Important to see here, I would say. Usually guys are like super, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. Sorry if I'm being a little bit of a dick. You guys are really on point usually about your answers. So I'm almost a little surprised on this one. So this is, something you want to think about in these kind of moments. Maybe you're being a little more aggressive late in tournaments in these ICM moments. Maybe taking post-flop bluff spots is a little different than taking pre-flop spots, right? It's a little bit of a different story. Taking a post-flop bluff that you think is good is perfectly fine. But if you're taking pre-flop spots that are like, maybe not so good, it could be hurting your game a little bit. Let me read the chat in a second. Let me just go to 13 bigs now, so you guys get a feel. See if it's changed that much. So we have, interesting here, 13 bigs, it says we're always playing ace-5 off, actually. So you guys might be onto something there. We're raising it half the time, so maybe I'm folding it a little bit too much in that spot. And we're also calling it half the time. I don't have any calling range with ace-5 off in that spot. So I would probably just be raising it then. And then it looks like a very small percentage of fold. Okay, let's hear the responses. So let's go to 12 bigs even if we can. Let's see if we can find 12 bigs. I'd rather just dig into it as hard as possible. I don't know if this is going to give me the right answer or not. I think it does. Okay. Wow, so 12 bigs, it's almost never raising. It's just slightly raising. 14%, and then calling 82% of the time. I mean, that is really bizarre. But, like, honestly, it's funny. It's story times here, and I see Ape make a lot of, like, very interesting calls pre-flop that I don't really do. And I bet a lot of them are these kind of, like, solver spots. Like, look, Queen 8 suited's calling. King 8 suited's calling. King 7 suited's calling. Like, super weird in those moments to be calling with 12 bigs, right? Like Queen 8 suited. But I'm just trying to show you kind of the solver mentality. But I'm not shoving ace-5 off there ever. Like, it's a 0% shove, and I'm seeing maybe I'm not raising it enough, I'm kind of seeing. So maybe I should be raising it a little bit more. All right, let me see. Not in a bad way. Yeah, well, sorry if I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. I kind of was a little bit. I feel like how I phrased that. No, yeah, you are, but not in a bad way, if that makes any sense. Yes, I just looked at my turn in moment. I'm running a 43-36. This is academic. Don't rip. Definitely not consider myself tag. It's fair, accurately. Okay, well, there you go. I think that's an interesting thing to discuss right there. I think that's something that could improve a lot of your equity late in tournaments. If you're, let's say, shoving that spot too much, that's going to be not, probably hurting your EV a little bit. So good to take stuff like that out of your game. Oh, Rhodesian said fold. Nice, man. Ridge is up. see when we see the hand, you know. Look at MK's beautiful hair. Like, look at that shit, dude. That's gorgeous. Thank you everyone for like hanging out for so long, you know. Hopefully you're gonna get something good out of this. I feel like you will, you know. I feel like just evaluating these charts and seeing a lot of these moments, because obviously this has been a lot of pre-flop. This is what I always emphasize to you guys. Late in tournaments, you're so shallow. Pre-flop is like 90% of the play, or like not 90%, but like 75% of the play or something. So, like, so many hands don't see flops. So pre-flop, if you get that down, man, you're gonna be like just a killer, you know. I didn't see what he had here. Okay, King 4 suited here. All right, keep going. Sorry. Just do a quick text. Oh, that's fair. Smart to check the levels, you know. Smart. And of course, those sticks don't ask him. Yeah, that's true. Very good point, Whack-A-Bump. That's a really good point. I do think just knowing this stuff, because people don't use it enough, and like as you move up in stakes, you'll see guys using it more, and then you could also kind of think about it. You could take advantage of it, and you know, understand when people are going to be calling you really tight in certain spots, so you can shove a lot wider. So King 3 off. Okay, let's everyone King 3 off. What are we doing? King 3 off. 9 BBs. Button. What would you do? Six left. He's the shortest stack.
Fold.
Would you say that story time said fold?
Yeah.
Okay. DMC says fold. Feeling nitty. I don't know how influenced you guys are by story time, you know? Small blind I'd push. That's a good point, Whack-A-Bump. I agree with that. That's the move, says jam. Oh, so good. That's why I knew late tournament stuff is exactly what you guys need. You know what I mean? Like, I know, because I see you guys making runs like non-stop, and then, you know, like Slammer just closed a big one, but I want you guys to just like, you know, we want to all consistently close as much as possible. Just get that rate. When you're getting deep, you're going to close a lot more often, you know? Wow, similar spot for Whack-A-Bump. Well, it depends, Whack-A-Bump. If that's deep in the tournament, then it's probably a full. But if it's the middle, it's probably a shove. It's, you know, I would say, right on the border. All right, so we say, let's see. DMC says fold. He's feeling nitty. Whack-A-Bump says fold. Small blind need push. That's a good point. Small blind I would push also. Keep going. It's busted King X, shoved pre so many times. Rhodesian says this has to be a fold. Yeah, I would agree. I would say this is a fold. Even when you're the shortest stack, I don't think it's strong enough to be shoving here. And, you know, I'm just going to, I know we've been doing this a million times, but I just want to check. Not give out bad info. Make sure I'm right on these spots. Let's look at it. Man, they're not going to give me these stacks, huh? There. Nah. It's probably a little tighter because of the cutoff, but yeah. So it says king 9 off is a fold, but there's a 5 big stack. So let's try to see. There we go. This is the one. This is the one. This is the one. Boom! Look at that, guys. King 8 off is a fold. King 8 off is a fold. So I'm trying to I knew king 3 off is a fold. I just wanted to kind of see if you guys are taking something from this session about these late tournament spots that are maybe not as profitable in certain moments as you might have thought when there's a lot of pay jumps on the line, you know? So just kind of consider that. I'm not saying maybe occasionally you could shove king 8 off. Maybe occasionally you could shove king 9 off. I'm not saying I'm against that, but I'm definitely not shoving anything below that. And I would be not always shoving those hands by any means. So we'll keep going. Do we know what he has? Queen 8. Okay, we're folding there. Saw 9. King 9. All right, king 9 off. I mean, just in the hijack. Are any of you shoving it?
Yeah.
All right, is that it's story time? Or who is that? That's what that was.
Yeah, story time.
Okay, he says shove. DMC says fold. Okay, Whack-a-Bum says fold. Trying to ladder his other shorty and wait like 15 more hands. Max to shove this. Okay. Slimer might want to throw her opinion in here. That's the move. Are you still here? Are you shoving it? Rhodesian has not said anything. Okay, we'll
A very small percentage, I'd say.
Sorry, what's the hand? I was responding to a text message.
Oh, you're good, bro. King 9 off in the hijack for 8 big blinds in this spot on the screen right now.
Oh, actually, probably.
What do you think?
I think I'm folding.
Folding? Okay. I am leaning fold also, guys. Let me see. 8 big blinds, right? I think that at king 10 off is where I would start shoving. So let's call it 7 big blinds even. Let's just to really exaggerate the situation. So king 9 off is a pure fold here. It says, interestingly enough, it's saying you're only raising. This is what the chart. This solver says you're raising all your hands and not shoving. Which I'm like so wait. Oh no, I'm on the wrong. No, that's me. That's me. Sorry, I did the wrong position. I was gonna say like what the fuck. All right, 7 bigs in the hijack. So king 9 off and king 10 off is a fold. I said I'm probably starting with king 10 off. I'm fine shoving king 10 off, but I do definitely think king 9 off is a fold in this spot. And it's another one of these moments that that's why I'm trying to exaggerate, not exaggerate, but just show you these charts and how these spots are, and like you're playing a lot tighter at these FTs, and you might be thinking that like I'm fucking insane all the time, and in a lot of moments I play very aggressive and crazy, but at FTs like I'm trying to play like more like this, like like closer to this as I can, not all the time, but like closer to this as I can, So that's on 7 bigs also, guys, not even 8 bigs. Yeah, isn't that crazy to see, DMC? King 10 is not even a shove. It's a raise it occasionally. Like queen 10 off is a shove. None of those are shoves. King 8 suited is not a shove. That's crazy, right? Not even king 8 suited. Like king 10 off. Interesting, right? All right. see what he's got. Oh, I don't know.
Fucking I thought.
9-4 off. Bro, that's a sweet one-of-one you got. Agora did tell me the chips are a big part of this, so like you got a lot of chips, which I think is really good. What do you have? 8-5 off. Thanks for showing us. Did you know before you folded? I'm so confused. Maybe you saw the cards. MK, did you see the cards? Like, how did you see that? Did you see them when they came down? I can see the cards on my screen. Oh, you can? Oh, it's through Streamlabs, right? For sure. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, guys. How about this one? All right. Is Solver gonna make us make another nitty fold? What do you guys think? 9-10 off the small blind. Shove. DMC says shove 100%. Shove whack-a-bum.
What's the hand?
9-10 off in the small blind here with I think 7 bigs or maybe 7.5.
Stick it in.
Stick it in. All right, everyone's saying shove. I'm in agreement with that. Even if honestly Solver told me not to shove, I would shove here. I think that it's affecting him too much. He's probably not going to be calling enough of his kings and shit. And
Actually, you could call a lot here because you dominated a lot of his checking range. You know.
yeah, I like usually either shoving or folding. I think when I'm like this stacked up with this particular hand, I think it's just there's gonna be enough times where he shoves it on you, and there's gonna be a lot of times when he folds like a king, maybe like a king 5 off he folds, or queen 5 suited maybe he could fold, and there's like certain hands like that you're gonna get to fold that are actually like better hands, and I like that a lot in this spot that you can get some better hands to fold. Like even if he should be maybe calling with a lot of those. So
Yeah.
like MK
I think you could even limp call off this hand as well.
I'm not actually a fan of that. I think I would be just purely shoving, or if you don't want to play it, I would probably fold. But I think I'd be just playing it as a shove because like I was saying, you want better hands to be folding, and you can get some better hands to potentially fold when you're shoving.
Obviously.
And if he's shoving on you, he's never going to shove a worst hand. And when you're in an FT, the ICM of the situation is like you don't want to call off. Calling off is a lot worse at an FT rather than shoving. Like when there's pay jumps and there's like 10 buy-in pay jumps and 15 buy-in pay jumps, then you want to be like tight with calling pretty much. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Let me just look at it because I want to know now. I mean, we've just been looking at all of them. I'm curious if he just says this could even be a fold. That would seem so crazy to me. All right, let's see. No, small blind shoving 62%. Okay. Thank God, guys. There it is. 10-9 off to shove, guys. We got one right. Yay. All right. No, it's that these solvers are tricky, man. Like they are. And I'm not saying like you have to play 100% like the solver. It's just it is important to like notice these situations and understand how tight they're making you play in a lot of them, because you want moving up pay jumps is so important when you're this deep in the tournament. King 5. I mean, I hope you guys are folding here, but I'm not going to ask this one. King 5 off on the button would be an interesting situation here. I'd probably stick it in, even if the solvers might not love it, because I just think you're on the shortest. You're still the shortest one by pretty much 2x, and getting it through would be so useful. You like almost like 50% make your stack bigger or more even. So I think it's just too crucial to maybe get through. I think MK finished in 6. We're almost done, guys. We're like 3 minutes away from being done. So there's the bus hand's probably soon. I think he got 6th. I'm not positive. Okay. Is this it? Alright, this is it. This is the last hand, guys. Alright, kind of an interesting one to end on, honestly. What is your stack here? Okay, 5 bigs, okay. Are we calling, guys?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, it's a call. Yeah, it's a call. I mean, even if it's like annoying and you might bust, yeah, you just gotta call it. I think you're 2x behind the next stack. I won't go too much into detail. Well, good game, MK, man. Great run in this. I mean, that's amazing. Come up for an $11 tournament, especially, you know. Awesome job, man.
I appreciate it.
Like, I mean, honestly, you played well overall. I don't think, like, a lot of the spots were, like, too off. I mean, there were, like, a few moments where I think you raised on the short stack, or maybe one where I would have folded the Jack-9 suited, or maybe shoved it. Probably just fold. No, I think it was a fold. I think we determined that one was a fold. And there was maybe one other one where you raised on the short stack that I would have shoved it, but I don't remember. It might have been the ace-4 suited. But that was a really close one. Obviously, we discussed it for a while. But no, I mean, you were very on point in a lot of spots. I believe you can kind of see how, like, these charts are very powerful, and like just ICMizer is a very powerful program, and like learning these spots is so powerful, and like how so many people are overplaying in these FT spots and just not really they're shoving just, you know, based on EV all the time, and like not even like paying attention to this, or maybe don't even know that these exist, and like just learning and like making these spots better and just getting better with the EV moments and the ICM moments, and knowing when to flip that switch. Like I've been saying a lot during this session, knowing when to flip that switch is really important. And like I was saying, the pay jumps are a super good factor for you to determine that. So if the pay jumps are pretty high, if there's like 5 pay jumps, let's say 5 buy-ins of the tournaments, that what I meant when I say pay jumps is buy-ins, like 5 buy-ins of the tournament, that's the pay jump, then you know that you could be then you could know you could be a little bit tighter with the ICM. The ICM is a little bit more important in those moments rather than when there's, let's say, like half a buy-in pay jump or something like that. So that's a good way to figure that out. And like, you know, like I was saying also, like in a smaller field, like when you're like 20 left, it might not be super deep, but when you're like in a 5,000 person field and you're 20 left, it's pretty damn deep. Like, so there's kind of those factors, and knowing kind of when to switch between EV and ICM is so important. And studying these charts, studying ICMizer, like looking these over, seeing all these spots. And I'm not saying you have to 100% follow Solver. You definitely don't have to, but studying them and just understanding how certain positions play in like every position, and like just adjusting and making adjustments to it, and understanding when you got to be a little bit tighter, when you got to be not shoving that king 3 off on the button for 8 big blinds, right? And when you got to be not shoving the king 9 off in the hijack for, what was it, 9 big blinds, I think it was, or the ace 5 off in the hijack with 12.5 big blinds, right? We learned that might be an open. If you're playing it, that's an open. Like just studying all those kind of moments, and like every time you figure out each of those moments, it's like your game is just leveling up. Every time you're leveling up like crazy. Every time you come to one of these seminars, you're leveling up like crazy. It's just gonna you're gonna come back to the table now, and your EV just automatically improves if you soaked in even like a third of what I'm saying here, you know, or a quarter of what I'm saying. So
I mean, I just appreciate it, because you know it's been like I said in the chat, never studied solvers. Like up until like recently, I'd say the last month and a half, I've finally started to grasp it. But it's just really confusing when like you don't have any basis to go off of. So I've been like trying to watch like Ape Styles videos, your style videos, and like try to like it's easier for me to almost mimic what I see you guys do than it is for me to study. And so like when I said I've never studied before, like that's 100% honest. I've watched videos, so I guess that's that fullest extent of my studying. And I think that the fact that a lot of the group agreed kind of like how I played, and they all study, it's kind of just showing me like the potential I have if I did put like all that time extra instead of whatever random shit I'm doing, just like sit there and just open up a chart and look at it for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and just like really start to layer in that knowledge on top of watching what you guys do. Because again, it's easier for me to implement. Like I don't know, I remember shit that you do from certain hands just like in certain spots. I know I remember what Ape Styles did versus this person in a high roller, and it's just like that's very high level of thinking to me, to where it's like I'm not playing those stakes, so I can't think that high yet, and just try to level myself out. So
Yeah.
I just appreciate your time. Like, I just, it means the world to me. And again, everybody that's in this, chat right now, it's nice to hear your voices, first of all, because like, we've been kind of behind closed doors, and you guys are just great.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, no, that should be a good sign for you, for sure. And I actually agree a lot with what you're saying. I think one of my best ways of learning and how I came up was just like watching other players play and like trying to emulate how they play. So I totally get where you're coming from when you say that, because that is like very good way to learn. I know some people like low key, like people like I know people like Hooney, who's one of the best poker players I know, who just I think he's done that like his whole career pretty much. And he's like knows the solvers because he's like talked to all these guys about the solvers and hasn't even like studied them that much maybe himself, but he like is started to talk to everyone who knows them so well that like he soaks in everything they're saying and all their knowledge. So it does really help a lot. But specifically, if you just learn these charts, like buy these charts, learn them, and like one day we'll have our own charts here, but for now these BBZ ones are freaking amazing, and just learn these charts, potentially get ICMized, or you don't have to buy it. Like Whack-A-Bump was saying, you can get one free spot a day on it, so that's pretty cool too. Cool part about ICMizer is you could input a whole hand history into it, and it'll tell you every spot how you're doing, whether it's right or wrong, whether you made the right play or didn't. But you just have to check it with these charts, because it doesn't tell you if calling is the right play. It only tells you if shoving or folding is the right play. So it's a little bit like it's not like 100% bulletproof program, but it works really damn well. And if anything, I would tell you, it's not even like we're not even telling most guys like go buy Odin, go study like the post flop solvers. Those get like another level of complicated. But pre-flop spots are like very easy to study. A lot of them are kind of memorizing mixed with a little bit of adjusting for players around you. And if you just do that and learn them, and then learn that with ICMizer, man, like they're not that difficult to get down. Like in 1 year or 6 months, you can get most of this shit down if you put in like let's say 3 hours a week, or like whatever it is, 2-3 hours a week on these charts. Like maybe a little bit more, but like 2-3 hours a week would go a crazy long way. Like you probably in 1 month just feel so much more comfortable than you were with these pre-flop spots. And like I always say, like pre-flop spots are like 80% of the late game in these tournaments. So just knowing that, and even if your post-flop game is not perfect, like just knowing pre-flop this well, you're gonna like be at such an elevated level around your opponents, where like these guys, maybe their post-flop game's a little better than yours, but your pre-flop game is way better than theirs, and you understand all the spots, and like you're gonna crush them overall. Even like in those post-flop moments, as long as you learn overall what you're doing, and you don't have to learn the full solver implications of every moment post-flop, but as long as you learn like it pretty well and learn these pre-flop spots, like you can win online. And then later on, when you're feeling really comfortable with the pre-flop, you can start learning the post-flop solvers more. But it doesn't have to be something you jump into right away by any means. Like I think if anything, it sometimes is confusing for players who are kind of just getting started on their poker studies. Like this stuff though, like what, at first it looks a little weird, like versus UTGI, RFI, HJ, and like 35. It looks weird, I get it, but like once you get it down, even when I started today, I was like, I haven't looked at these charts in like 2 weeks, and I'm just like, oh, I kind of forgot like the exact places I need to go everywhere. But like once you start getting used to it, you're like, all right, this is from the hijack. This is versus UTG raising first in. That's what RFI means. So that's first position, raising first in, what you're doing in the hijack, right? So 35 bigs or whatever it is. So, it's kind of obvious. You're probably playing a little tighter here. Maybe you're like, oh, I thought ace jack was a hand you play here. Well, solvers say it's not. Like, I probably would play ace jack, but solvers don't like it. So there's like, you just kind of have to figure it out. It seems a little confusing, and it's like HJ 24%. That means that you're shoving 24% of your range here in the hijack. Wait, is that what it's saying? Or you're playing, sorry, not shoving. That means you're playing 24% of your range. You're raising it in the hijack. So there's like little, it's not, or like, it says cutoff versus button jam, so this is if you're in the, what is it, versus button jam? I'm actually kind of confused by this. See, I don't even understand what's going on right now. I'm actually a little confused right now. So I think this means if the cutoff opens and then the button jams, this is what you do as the cutoff. What you'd be calling and folding. So see, I haven't even explored this enough lately where I forgot about this section right here. So I forgot this was even like a thing. Like that you could actually look up like, all right, so you're in the cutoff, you open, and then the button jams you. What would you call with, right? These are telling you like, all right, button's pretty deep stacked here, so you're not going to call them with much. 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, kings, Well, yeah, like, it seems a little confusing.
And an example, if you keep that one up there, Steve, like the way that I make this easier for myself when I try to learn them is I try to get a shorthand down there and just think of it as offsuit and suited. So I'll say, oh yeah, in that position, offsuit 10s and suited 9s. And that's a lot easier to remember than just trying to remember all these individual hands and things like that. Try to find the border of where things start to mix. So and the more you learn what those border hands are, the more you'll be confident anything within that range there.
Yeah, so it's like, like what you're saying, like, I'm like, you're going with like, instead of like every hand, like ace jack suited plus, ace queen off plus, 8-8 plus you're going with, or 9-9 plus, So you could kind of have these like shortcuts of like, I think that's what you're saying, right, Rhodesian? Or did I misunderstand? He's rugged. I think he's rugged, guys.
And then you can just fill in the gaps on the fly.
Oh, you got rubbed there for a second, bud. Can you repeat that?
But yeah, you got the concept down. It's just a shorthand way of like kind of summarizing the entire chart by just using one or two lines to memorize the bottom part of the range.
For sure, yeah. So it makes it less confusing because obviously all this blue here, those are just folds. So if you just want to simplify it, you're like, all right, I'm just calling with maybe 8s, definitely 9s plus, ace queen off plus, ace jack suited plus. And then it's like an easy way to just think about it. But yeah, man, so I'm glad you guys enjoyed the session. I'm glad it helped. We went on for a while for sure, over 2.5 hours. So glad you guys enjoyed it. It was definitely a lot of fun. Good time doing it. We'll get this posted on YouTube too. I think I pretty much have the last 2 hours or maybe a little bit more that we'll post to YouTube. And yeah, thank you everyone for coming out. Slammer, I hope you're still deep in that tournament. Hopefully you're still deep in that. Holler if you are.
Again, I just appreciate y'all's time. It really means the world to me. You guys are amazing.
For sure, Mar. We appreciate you, man. You're very nice. You're very kind-hearted, nice guy, man. I could tell even by your voice. You just sound like a nice guy,
I just like I explained to you like kind of my story, and I know that not everybody really knows it like at the very beginning, but Ape Styles, just the snails, dealing with Pitbull Poker, and then you guys, like I've been disconnected from everybody for the longest time and never really had, like I got screwed over by a bunch of friends a long time ago, like 15 years, and I've not really had any since then. And the only people that I really have felt connected to was my 2 kids. And this year, like I had a lot of negative thinking, a lot of stuff that like over the years slowly started to like build up and dwell and all this other stuff. And the communities between the 3 main groups, you guys, snails and, pitbulls, is like giving me hope for my future for the first time that I haven't felt in a long, long time. And, if you guys ever need anything, you guys are ever in Virginia, need a place to crash, you're more than welcome to crash here. I'm a really good cook, so I can make some bomb-ass food for you guys. But you guys truly are my family. So
thank you, bro. Thank you so much, man. Where in Virginia are you at?
Like Virginia Beach area. So like I live like 15 minutes from the beach. So
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Never checked out Virginia Beach. If I'm there, I'll have to hit you up, man. Appreciate all the
there you go.
words, bro.
I mean, it's pretty nice. It's okay, but like it gets real touristy, and then that I stay away from the beach as much as possible during the
That's
summer.
Oh, that's fair.
I've been to a couple fish shows back in the day there.
There you go.
I thought you were from California, so
I you know what? I was born in California. The last place I lived before Virginia was I was the food and beverage manager for Silverado Resort and Spa up in Napa. And then I was an outlet manager at Bowling Kitchen in Redondo Beach. And then moved back here.
yeah, for sure. Do you have family out there or anything, or?
Yeah, so like I have my grandma lives out there, a couple of cousins and uncles, some family in Texas, but you know, my sister lives here, but like she has a newborn baby, probably, well, not newborn anymore, about a year and a half. So I haven't really seen her, but maybe 4 times in the last couple months, just because she's so busy. She has a big family. So you guys pretty much are my family now, and you're stuck with me. So fucking deal with it.
Love it, man. Love it, man. Well, just keep fucking improving, man. Like I said to everyone in the room, like you got some good people helping you out. Like it's not easy to get poker advice that's like this interactive and like talking to like pros all the time, and like just soak that in and like just study the things kind of we're talking about, and like legitimately a lot of you can be very, very good. Like I think online poker's having a bit of like a renaissance right now. Like I feel like every other week it gets like weaker almost. It's just like it's kind of crazy. Like I feel like there's just so many bad players out there right now, and a lot of like amateur players, and just very like people like don't play poker like ever, just firing random tournaments. I just see it all the time, and poker's at a really good point where if you step your game up, you could definitely do pretty well. Like I feel like it's softer than like 3 years ago for sure, and I think this crypto boom has really helped with that. Yeah, I mean, just think like improving your game, and like there's a lot of great tools out there to improve your game, and you know, bounce things off of the good players you have around you, like obviously me, Kurt, Ape, you know, whoever you're talking to, and have things to bounce off of. Those are amazing people to get advice from. Those are people who've won for a long time at a professional level, and like that can't be understated, because like some of the advice people have in their heads and the habits they get from like a friend tells them like, oh, don't do this in this spot, and you just remember it for like 6 years, and you do it forever until some pro is like, bro, what are you doing? And you're like, oh, I thought I just always do this. You're like, no. You're like, oh. And then it just like improves your game immensely, just like that one moment. Like DMC always mentions to me about his size is too small post flop, and I'm like, that's the easiest change ever. Like go from 1/3 to 3/4, and you're gonna have so many improvements in your game if you just like every time you think that in a spot, just do it, and like the improvements are gonna be crazy. So there are like even sometimes just little things that are like holding people back from like big winnings. Like I feel like the biggest moments in my career, I've made these like little changes that I was like so close, and I keep busting late, and then I make this little adjustment that I notice, and then I'm like just like on fire, like can't be stopped. And like sometimes that's all it takes, and like obviously a lot of work too, and a lot of study and all that, but making these adjustments, being honest with yourself about your game is like the number one thing I would take away from all this. Just be honest with yourself. If you're making it, it's really good that you're like letting me like look at this. Like, thank you for letting us evaluate. Like we always tell everybody, send us your hand histories. We love to look at other videos, other people's videos, you know? Like we love it when people put themselves out there and do that. Like Agora did that too, and it's amazing, man. That's how you learn, and the more you do that, the more like you're gonna learn. Just be honest with yourself, and don't be ashamed of making errors. Don't be ashamed if you're wrong in a spot. Like, there's literally no ego. Don't be ashamed if, like, you're talking to me about a hand and you say that and I'm like, you're like, I say I disagree with you in a spot and you feel stupid. Like, don't feel stupid. Like, there's literally nothing to feel stupid about. It's literally just a learning process. There's no shame in being wrong. Like I said to Rhodesian earlier, to DMC, it's okay to be wrong, just don't stay wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. So if you are wrong in a spot, just learn it, fix it. Don't have an ego about it. Just fix it, make it right, and use your experience as you go, and all these charts and all that, guys. Yeah, I won't rant too much longer, but appreciate all y'all. If anyone else has any questions or anything, feel free to ask MK if you want to say anything else. Don't feel obligated, but you're welcome to.
Pretty sure I've said everything I wanted to say, but again, anytime you guys need anything, just a message away. Here for you. Love that line.
And one thing I do want to chime in with, like that I was just listening to Steve, that came to mind, is the era of these 100% lines is behind us because of solvers. And so when we're talking ICM, there is a very binary decision process with that. But what we're learning from the solvers is the percentage of certain actions. And so that's a big factor that's changed in the past like 3 or 4 years. And then separate from that though, like we as a community, sorry about the frogs in the background, by the way. We as a community, we're all here in the poker NFT pioneering stage. And so as far as like what Web3 means to the game of poker and the fact that we're all here like so early, like this could have, hard to even quantify results down the road as far as who sticks with this and what this becomes. So that part I'm like super stoked about, to be involved with who I am at this point. And MK, dude, you're just like extremely fucking friendly, dude. Like, wow. Like, I just wanted to mention that. Like, you seem like just such a stand-up person.
He's
like,
a legend.
Yeah, it's like we're all blessed to have you be such an integral part of this. I mean, Steve also has that in him. Like, he's just incredibly compatible. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the fact that we're all in this NFT poker pioneering phase, and I want everyone to fucking stick with it, because it does have like way more legs than we're probably even estimating right now. But that was pretty much it.
Wow, great speech, bro. Great speech. I definitely agree with what you're saying, man. Very well said. And yeah, I think even with what you're talking about, the ranges being different in different spots. Like I've kind of had these thoughts for years. That like, just because like there's not like some people would be like, oh, you're an idiot if you play a spot this way. But instead of like thinking of spots like that all the time, I like to like even. You could take info from even like sometimes what fishier players are doing and get some information. I always had that thought of like poker's not just this finite, like this moment is this or that. Like some moments are, some moments you hear me say it's like 100% this, but a lot of moments aren't. And the sizing could vary, and it just depends on the moment a lot. Like some moments are literally 50-50, and yeah, it's an interesting part of poker, and that's how poker's evolved. And it's cool that we have all these tools now to be able to give us like all this info, because it is just so much information if you want to use it. And honestly, man, I'm telling you guys, if you use this stuff, people are lazy. You could be better than people at poker 100%. You will be in the upper echelon of poker players if you use this stuff. If you study this, you will become in the upper echelon over time. Maybe not every single person will be perfect with everything. Like the emotional swings of poker are a thing too, right? Like you're gonna have to get unlucky deep in tournaments and handle that for periods of time when you might not be winning, maybe you won't be running good. So there are other aspects that might affect you. But if you're studying and you just stay emotionally disciplined, put in the volume, and just study all the time, like you're gonna fucking crush it, bro. Like you're getting the right information, and most people are too lazy to put in the time to study all this stuff. They're too lazy to put in the time to solvers, or they don't have the time. Not even too lazy, maybe they just don't have the time. You have a real job, you have kids, like who has the time? So it's like if you do this and put in the time to all these things that I've been talking about, especially the pre-flop stuff, just to start off the bat, it's you can go a long way, What are we saying, mate? Oh, never mind. I don't know if you had to say something in story time, but yeah, so if you guys just do that, like, legitimately, you'll go a long way, man. Like, just put in that work. Work harder than other people. Like, the best greats in every sport, put in more time than everybody else. It's just a fact. You guys know that. I mean, some of them have talent, of course, more talent than others, but they put in the fucking time. And you guys got to do the same. And whenever you have time, I know some have more time than others, but even if you could look at these charts 15 minutes a day, like MK was saying, do that. Like, if you could look at them 30 minutes a day, maybe you study them 20 minutes before you play every time, because you're not allowed to use this when you play, by the way. So most sites don't allow that, so just keep that in mind. I just don't use it anywhere, just to be safe. So this is like for post study, so you want to write down spots, whatever. But yeah, just if you could put in the time studying, it's like it's gonna help so much. I can't even emphasize just how much your game could improve. And yeah, guys, just I'm pumped about the future of LionShare. I'm pumped about the future for all you guys in poker, and just all you guys, especially like pretty much everyone here has been going to a lot of these study sessions, and you guys are gonna improve the most. You're gonna notice it. I mean, Rhodesian's already winning everything on the planet. And he, I know he studies these spots. He was already telling me when I first met him that like he's studying a lot of these spots. So I already know he was already kind of in the mix with these, and it makes sense. He's been doing well. He's been running good, but he's also been playing great. The Prodesian.
Enough with that nickname. Thank you for the kind words, though. But yeah, I was gonna say, like, everyone does it differently, but like, make index cards if you need to. Do whatever the hell it is. Like I used to use a subscription place where I studied, and they literally had a program in there that just randomly sets up spots for you and just asks you, what you're doing in every one of those spots, just training you to remember those charts and learn them in an interactive way. So whatever the way it is, studying it however works for you. Any way to memorize it's going to help a lot.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. Very true, guys.
And I still fuck them up all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we're all human, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different situations. It takes a lot of experience, and even like I said, I'm still learning these spots in certain moments. Kurt doesn't know even though Kurt seems like a robot in these spots, I bet he doesn't know every single spot. I bet he knows like 80% of them or something, 85%, but I bet he doesn't know like every single spot. And he's like robotic with this shit. I feel like he studies it like nonstop. So, just putting in just getting at least a general feel of what's going on. Like, I already have a general feel that like King 3 off isn't a shove in that spot in the button. King 9 off isn't a shove in the hijack. You'll get that general feel in those ICM spots the more you study them. EV are a little bit easier, I feel like, to do, because EV, there's less factors. It's just, what's the right play? It's just like, is this a good shove or not? But ICMs like stacks and position, I feel like, plays even more of a factor, and stacks play a huge factor, and the pay jumps play a factor, and there's a lot more factors when it comes to ICM, so it's a little more complicated. But EV, you can just get down, So anyway, guys, I won't rant for too much longer. Appreciate you, MK. If you want to say anything else, you're obviously welcome to, but
No, I'm good.
I appreciate all y'all, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for the very kind words, MK. You're fucking awesome. And
You're
DM.
awesome.
Easy, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Have a good
Thanks,
one,
guys.
Bob Dog DMC, Story Time, MK Preacher, Rusky, Malone. That's the move, Rhodesian, Lack a Bump. Thank you, everyone, for joining, hanging out. Appreciate all y'all. I'll be streaming tomorrow probably all day, so there's a big 600 in the morning, a 600, 200K. I'm hyped for that one. So I'll be in there for that. All right, have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
So is it?